What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another deck profile here on TCG University for the card game UniVersus. My name's Tam, and today I'm going to be showing you the Chun-Li 2-dot deck that I played for this week's Campus Championship. It was Patreon picks, so I had a couple people suggest Chun-Li to me, and something that I'm going to start doing is I have made a deck build video that you can find out on Patreon at the $1 level. It's exclusive to Patreon. So if you want to watch me in real time build this Chun-Li 2-dot deck and the decisions that I made inside of it, please consider subscribing out to Patreon. It's just $1, and you'll get access to so much unbelievable content. So, with all the shilling out of the way, let's go ahead and jump into the profile. All right, so if you haven't seen one of my deck profiles before, basically, instead of just reading off the cards verbatim, I'm going to be telling you more of what the deck wants to do, as opposed to just what the cards say themselves. So, Chun-Li, this is the first time I've ever played Chun-Li 2-dot, and I gotta say, I was genuinely surprised at how well she did. The fact that she can commit one of her foundations in order to build an additional foundation is just really, really good. If this was printed on any other ability of just enhance, commit a foundation, build a foundation, I would be all over it. And so I'm surprised at how much I actually slept on this character. And the enhance once per turn, add a face down to your momentum is also surprisingly good. She is a little bit more of a Wally character, a more defensive character than I imagined her to be, but she does have the tools in order to make sure that she gets there. So with that said, let's go ahead and just jump into the profile. So the main card that I'm playing is 3 Deep Scar. It was supposed to be 4, but we actually don't have 4 in the dorms. This card is the reason I wanted to play Chun-Li in the first place. Is I wanted to figure out what cool cards that I could, if I wanted to snap a momentum out of nowhere off of Chun-Li's ability, could get the most value. And I thought Deep Scar would be it. With Chun-Li and Deep Scar, this is a 9 mid for 21. And it's just really, really strong. I have some flipping options that you'll see inside of the deck that force the Deep Scar to happen. And if all else fails, it is a 0 mid block with Breaker 3. I'll repeat that. It is a 0 mid block with Breaker 3. This card just ends everybody's turn. It just ends people's turn. Not to mention, it's just a really good poke. 9 mid for 6 that builds itself down. Solid stuff. Up next, the other really good card, the money card. I was going to say Money Shot, but that's like a weird thing to say. It's for Nutcracker. I guess not with the card named Nutcracker. This thing hits like a truck. It builds down afterwards, and I've got ways to pick it back up. And so I constantly have that Breaker 2 inside of my hand. This card has very much earned its price tag because of how versatile its utility is. We're playing 4 Aether Leg. I think this card is fantastic. It's a really good poke. I will say one of the big things that I noticed inside of my Chun-Li deck is nobody got to block anything. And if they did, they only got to block one thing. And so as long as you can find the damage inside of your attacks, you very much can make this work. Not to mention Chun-Li makes something just a teensy bit bigger whenever she wants. But discard momentum, add the top 2 cards of your deck to your staging area face down. This was really good to essentially go +1. So if I had 1 card in my staging area, which I 9 times out of 10 did, I would use Chun-Li, commit it to give the 3 speed, add it into my momentum for the damage, and then discard the momentum, build the top 2 from my deck. This was an incredible building tool, especially on the turns that I wanted to go in really hard. One high block's not too shabby either. The next big power play, hilariously enough, is 4 Power Flip. We are playing the Power Flip Bastion Stance combo, and it was the main defense piece of our deck. And I will say a 8 high for 5 Power Flip that built itself down after I was done with cards that could pick my Power Flip back up was incredibly strong. 9 times out of 10 when I resolved a juicy Power Flip, I won that match based solely off of being able to pick it back up when I was done. And then the last card that I have is for Shoki. This card was essentially just an additional once per turn add a momentum. That's the only thing I wanted to use it for. The +3 -3 was fine. I almost never wanted to use this as a reversal. It was just, hey, if this 7 mid for 4 dealt damage to you, I got an additional momentum. There were plenty of times where I was building into deadlock on turn 3 just because of building out my foundation base and then building all of these foundations face down and not being able to get rid of my face downs. And so if I was playing against somebody that had plenty of deadlock hate or deadlock strength, I needed to get rid of those foundations, and so that's where Shioki comes in. Onto the assets and actions. We were playing a bunch of one-ups because honestly I didn't know what to pick, what to cut, and so I just wanted to try a bunch of stuff. So we're playing one Omega Sword and Elk Shield, just really good staple. It does say flip one of my foundations, which is totally fine because I want to with Chun-Li in order to commit one of their cards, as well as it gives me an asterisk +1 hand size because I get to block with it from my staging area. We're playing one Omega Sword and Owl Shield, a little bit of extra damage, free blocking on progressive. I think this card is a staple, at least at a 1-of under all 3 of these symbols. We're playing one Coludus. This card says response after my attack deals damage, whether it be on my turn or on your turn. I do have a couple of reversals in this deck. I get to selectively flip one of my opponent's assets or foundations. I can either flip one of their assets and maybe put them into deadlock, do some really cool stuff there, or even better yet, I will flip one of their problem foundations and then deep scar them as soon as I can. In the same vein as the Coludus, we're playing one Palindrome. This card was exclusively used for defense. I'll commit one of my foundations, probably one of my face downs that I can shove into my momentum, and then I'm going to cancel their damage or speed buffs as the attack is resolving. The thing is, 9 times out of 10, they were flipping the card in order to make sure that it kept their effects, which meant my deep scars were actually relevant. And then my last card, the real interesting tech chart card, was Outworld's Marketplace. Response, discard a momentum after an attack is played. It loses all its printed keywords and gains throw, playable by either player. The thing about this card was, with how much I was getting momentum with Chun-Li, I thought that this was going to be really cool on a deep scar. Honestly, it was a little lackluster. I'd probably cut it altogether. But the once per turn discard a card, draw a card was actually really, really useful. Onto the foundations. The first section of the foundations I want to talk about are the aggressive foundations. We're talking the second Saintly Beast. This is just essentially another copy of Chun-Li's committed foundation, and it was really useful on my turn because I could enhance on second Saintly Beast and then commit it for the extra speed on Chun-Li. This card and Chun-Li says +5 speed. You're not blocking that attack. You're just not. It's not happening. We're playing one singular copy of One with Nature. I'll take these bad cards in my hand and I'll turn them into making sure that my attack is going to go through with plus to the block progressive, not to mention Chun-Li, as well as a little extra damage. We're playing 4 Fusion Refusal. This card is fantastic in this deck. One of the main reasons that I decided to play Power Flip is because this card is really strong playable while committed. And so a really cool play that I can do is commit for +3 speed and then add it up to my card pool for +2. Excuse me, add it up to my card pool for +2 damage, making sure that I stay as aggressive as possible. And then with Power Flip, we add them all back down and then do it again. Speaking of Power Flip, onto the Disruption. We're playing 3 Bastion Stance. This card just says after it gets added to added to my staging, added to my card pool, your opponent adds one of their committed foundations to their card pool. The breakers in my deck means that they're committing more cards, as well as the Power Flip has stun 1. The flip seal one of my opponent's foundations was almost never relevant, but it's just because of how good the stuff their card pool is. It's just really good. Speaking of stuff in our card pool, we're playing 3 Sense of Morals. This is a bit of a flow card. I kind of skipped the Bastion Chance, but it's just really important to talk about it and Fusion Refusal together. Sense of Morals is a really good flow card. It wants to not counter with progressive. One of the other main targets besides Fusion Refusal for Nutcracker in order for not count towards progressive and then draw that additional card. Also feels really good to commit one of these for the +3 speed since its ability is also playable while committed. Up next, we're playing 3. I have a sword. This card says after I hit you, I get to take one of my face downs and pick it back up. With a character that's adding all of her attacks face down, I have no issue committing this and then picking it back up. It's also playable on my opponent's turn. So I will have played a Power Flip on my turn. I have added it face down. I will block reversal with a Power Flip. I hit you with a Power Flip. I'll pick back up my Power Flip, and I'll be adding the other one down. And so with a singular I have a sword, anytime that they don't block one of my Power Flips, I'm going to be picking them up and playing it every single turn. My turn, your turn, my turn, your turn. And that combined with Bastion Stance is really, really strong. It essentially wins you the game. Next, we're playing Double Dreaming of Becoming Whole. This is a primo target for me to commit with Chun-Li, because after I discard a momentum, which I get with Chun-Li, it readies back up. It's almost like this card was made for Chun-Li. It wasn't. It was made for Lilith, but just, same thing. It's really, really solid stuff. We're playing double the Forbidden Technique. This is just going to be a little bursty. I don't actually think I needed this card. This card was fine. It felt really good on turn 1. It felt terrible on turn 2. It probably could get cut from the deck for a better high block. Better buildable foundation. We're playing double Folktale Storyteller. I'm kind of in the same boat as the Forbidden Technique. It was fine, but main reason we're playing this card is a little anti-breaker. If they breaker me, I can play the Folktale and then build my card down, as well as take one of my cool cards and shove it back into my deck. That is the main thing that I want to do with this. The building's fine, but I have tons of ways to build stuff because of Chun-Li. Up next, we're playing one Endless Determination. This is a bit of a flow card because of the fact that once per turn after it's committed to pay the cost of an ability, Chun-Li, I get to ready it back up. Lets me be a little more aggressive, lets me build out a little further, and just gives me a free Chun-Li enhance, as well as add one card from my momentum to my staging area face down. And so I can take and with Chun-Li get a free, I will commit this face down for Chun-Li's ability, add this into my momentum, and then add it right back if I need the extra damage. We're playing Double Hell's Reach. Once again, feels real good to commit this card and then flip and ready it back up. Just feels really, really solid. We're playing one Patriot Stance. This card lets me pick up one of my either my Power Flip back up to my hand or my Nutcracker after I've breakered them and pick it back up into my hand. As well as, since it is a flip ability, I can pick it back up with a Longest Sword or just add it into my momentum with Chun-Li, depending on how the rest of the turn goes. We're playing one High Spirit Awareness. This card is a slower version of I have a sword. On my opponent's turn, I will flip and add one of my face downs up to my hand. Let's say I have a singular block where my opponent is playing some sort of discard out. I'm going to play this card. I think this was totally perfect at a 1-of. I would not cut this card for sure. On to the defense, we're playing one Haunted by Loss. Destroy Committed Foundation. This attack is a -2 speed. With Chun-Li, it's super easy for me to be wanting to commit foundations, and I can even use her ability to give my attack +3 speed on my opponent's attack, and I don't necessarily care. So I'll have a card, I'll commit it for my attack to get +3, and then -2 speed. Make the block just a smidge easier. Up next, got Double Bakery Poster Girl. Enhance commit after for the +3, and then after they play 3 or more abilities, I'll blow it up and make sure that I can block something. We're playing one for Mother Russia for a little bit of disruption. This card is primarily in here for after my opponent plays an ability that draws cards. I'm going to say no to that. I don't want them to have any extra advantage. Chun-Li's already at a bit of a disadvantage because of how weak she is in comparison to the other Street Fighter vs. Darkstalkers characters. I don't want my opponent to be having the extra cards. It's hard enough to stop my opponent's turn when they're just their regular hand size. Up next, we're playing 3 Voices in the Dark. This is just momentum control. Enhance flip. Choose a card and either play a discard pile and shuffle it back into their deck. Excuse me, momentum or discard pile. And so it can be a little discard pile control, but more importantly, it is the momentum control. I don't want my opponent to have those bullets. We're playing double the Dark Side of Karma for disruption. I feel really good committing this since it's negate playable while committed. Just really strong card. We're playing double Servant of Ares. So this card is interesting inside of our deck for 2 reasons. Number one, it is 9 times out of 10, it is usable for the enhance flip, lose to my opponent. I flip one of my opponent's foundations. I get to pick. But the enhance, your throw attack gets +4 damage is really cute because I'm playing Outworld Marketplace, and then discard a momentum, my attack gains throw. I will say that with the Outworld Marketplace, I can't remember if I said it or not, it does lose Fury, and so I can't give it the 3 speed, but who cares because it's a throw, and I'm going to give it an extra 4 damage. Up next, we're playing triple Overly Dramatic. I'm pumping a lot of stats, and I don't want my opponent to mess with my stats, or I don't want my opponent to mess with their stats. And so Overly Dramatic is just a really good way to stop my opponent from messing around with stuff. We're playing one Venomous. If they try and draw or add cards, knock it off. Same thing reason we're playing the for Mother Russia. This just stops it outright as opposed to disrupting their card pool. We're playing one Betrayer of 12. Once again, I need their foundations flipped in order to make my cool Deep Scar play work, and this is just an additional thing to make them flip. Or I get to draw some cards. Drawing cards is fun. That's why I want to stop them from doing it with Venomous. And then my last card that we're playing is double Pursuing a Vendetta. This card is because I like my foundations, and I need to make sure that I can have them. Yes, I do have plenty of them. This card could probably be put into the sideboard, but I felt this was important enough inside the main board to be able to add in and draw some extra cards. It feels really good when my opponent tries to get rid of one of my cards, and I'll flip and add in a Bastion Stance, and then mess them up with it next turn. All right, everybody, thank you very much for watching this deck profile on Chun-Li 2. I thought this deck was an absolute blast, and I certainly have a better respect and understanding of why Chun-Li is really fun to play. She's really, really fun to play. Do I think she's the best character printed? Absolutely not. but she was a blast, and I highly suggest you pick her up. With that said, like I said at the top, if you like this deck profile, make sure you check out all the other ones as well as the matches. Go watch them live out on Twitch, and think about supporting us out on patreon.com/TCGUniversity. Get access to a ton of extra content and a lot of personal interaction with the rest of the TCGU faculty. So, from all of us here at TCGU, thank you very much for watching, and stay learned.